Okay, so welcome to our team call tonight. I am so excited to have Erica lead the call about consistency and sharing the tools that she has used to be just so solid. Like when I think of Erica, I think rock solid. She's going to talk about slow and steady wins the race, and she is. She's just been, I posted in the team call that she was an integral part of our team hitting elite. She was able to become a diamond in the month of December, and she's held it. And I think that's a true measure of just consistency over time and allowing that compound effect to really just work with her and to her momentum and her success in this business. So enough about that. I'm so excited to learn from you. I will go ahead and pass it over. Erica, take it away.
Hey folks. Okay, so just a disclaimer, I am in my pajamas. It is a little bit late here on the East Coast, but I'm excited to be on the call. So first of all, thank you, Raquel, for inviting me. Oh, honey, your food is done. Sorry, just heard a bell. Sorry, this is how I am, so I hope that that's okay. Maybe it'll give you guys some humor so you can stay awake for a little bit longer. So anyway, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to talk to everyone. I know for some of you, you might be like, who is this chick? You've never seen me even on the call, but typically I'm sleeping at this hour. Raquel had asked me to really talk about this consistency, so y'all are seeing this. I pretty much have called consistency my superpower. And what I'm going to really kind of touch on tonight is just consistency, not just in my business, but consistency in other areas of my life as well, that I think connect and help me kind of stay consistent across the board. Because I feel that if I fall short on one and then, it's kind of like domino effect. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to move on to my next slide here so I can keep this going. So just a little bit about me. If you've been following me on Facebook or you're not my friend on Facebook, I am a full-time mom to this little guy right here. He is 7 years old, Tristan. I have been married to my best friend for almost 11 years. Is that right, babe? 11 years? Yeah, 11 years. We've known each other for 18 total. So he took a little while to kind of figure out he was going to spend the rest of his life with me, but yes, 18 years, here we are. I am an entrepreneur or mompreneur. I started my own personal training business, I want to say almost 4 years ago now. I also have been teaching group fitness for over 20 years, and then last June was when I added the coaching piece. And just a really fun fact about me, I am a twin. I have a twin brother, and we're nothing alike at all. We're like on two sides of the spectrum. It's hard to believe we came from the same person. But anyway, so fun fact about me. What was the other thing I wanted to tell you guys? It'll come to me. So moving on. So what do I really want to hit home today? I want to really talk about what is consistency, and I want to frame this to say what I think consistency is really for me. It's how I really view consistency, but my hope is that it may inspire you to kind of maybe rethink what consistency means for you. Why is it so powerful? Some of the tools that I do use, and then just some key reminders and takeaways before we kind of close and I open it up for questions if you guys have any questions. So does that sound good? Yay? Good? Okay. So, wait, wrong slide. No, that is the right slide. No, wrong slide. Sorry. Okay, so consistency. Before I go into what consistency looks like for me, I want to really talk about why it's so powerful. And Raquel had kind of touched on some keywords: compound effect, sustainability. So really for me, when I think about consistency, it really is something that is sustainable. And the reason why it's sustainable is because you are doing something every day. You are taking action in some form every single day to create this sustainability, whether that's in your workouts, whether that's with your nutrition, whether that's with your business. your personal development, whatever that may be, you are creating a compound effect. And I think, to Raquel's point, that's why I've been able to kind of slow and steady keep my rank and not really have a roller coaster ride, so to speak. I feel that when you create sustainability, it shouldn't feel like a roller coaster. And that's not to say that you're going to have great days every single day, because I certainly don't have great days every day. Some days are a lot harder than others, and that just depends on what's going on in my life too, right? Things just happen. Ooh, I think I heard something. I think I heard a beep beep or something. So really the idea with consistency for me is I'm trying to create a steady pace that I can hold on to. And it kind of reminds me of what I tell my students when I teach my cycling class, when I tell them, find a pace, find a rhythm that you can really hold on to, and it doesn't feel like you're struggling so much. You are just kind of holding it steady, holding it steady, holding it steady. So it always reminds me too of the tortoise and the hare. So I don't consider myself to be the hare, so to speak. I do consider myself to be a tortoise in a lot of ways. And it really does, for me, win the race in what I'm trying to accomplish overall. I also think consistency helps to prevent burnout. I know so many people that I have talked to since I've started coaching that have told me they really feel burned out. And not just in coaching. I mean, when I worked on Wall Street, I felt burnout big time. It was just, you go so hard, and then you just, you're exhausted. You don't really even know what the next step is. So I feel that for me, I've taken the approach of slow and steady helps it feel more like a marathon rather than a sprint. So I know that I will have some ebbs and flows, but there's something consistent within those ebbs and flows that is keeping me on track. It's keeping me on this course. I also feel that consistency creates accountability. So for me, that ties very much to my challengers. Just like I want them to be accountable, they are looking at me. What am I doing every day? Am I showing up every day? It does create relevance, I feel, even especially now with social media, where if you are showing up consistently in some fashion, people are going to start to take you a little bit more seriously, right? And I also think it establishes your reputation. So for me, even though sometimes I'll say to myself, oh my God, my post, that wasn't really the best post maybe, or oh, I could have hit on this point, or I could have hit on that point. I try less to beat myself up about that kind of stuff and just say, well, you know what? I showed up. I showed up and I put something forth that I hope inspired someone in some way. And that to me makes what my reputation is. That's when people say, you know what, maybe it wasn't her best day, but Erica showed up, man. She shows up like she does every single day, and she shows us that she's real, because not every day is going to be perfect. And I also think that consistency, this last one here, I find to be really important, and maybe it's just from my corporate America days, but we were always kind of drilled into the notion that how do you measure effectiveness if what you're measuring is not performed on a consistent basis? So if you just start to do something and then you quit, it's so hard to have some kind of a pattern established for you to say, well, did that really work? That didn't really work. Maybe that did work. You have to give yourself some kind of time and be able to be consistent with it over time to say, oh, you know what? Maybe that's where I fell short. So I do think that if you're not doing it consistently, it's going to be really hard for you to measure whether or not it's something that is working for you or something that's not working for you. I also think that it gives you an opportunity to reevaluate along the way. Doesn't necessarily mean that one thing that you're doing now is going to necessarily work in 60 days, and that's okay. But I think that you still have to try to do something as consistent as possible to be able to say, maybe that's not really working for me, or maybe it is really working for me. So my point being, do it consistently so you can measure how effective it really is. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions? You know, shoot me a thumbs up, a happy face, like, yay, Erica, you're doing good. Okay, perfect. All right. The one other piece too that I wanted to mention as far as consistency is concerned, and this is really, I think, important when we think about social media, because let's be real, social media, and I've said this to Raquel a million times, how moody is social media? It's moody, right? One day somebody's following you, next day they drop you, depending on what your picture looked like that day, or maybe they just didn't like what you posted. So one of the things I've also tried to condition myself to believe, and really ultimately believe this, is that when you're consistent in your posting, there's almost a predictable flow of information coming from you. So in some sense, you might have haters, because God only knows how many not so nice comments I've gotten over the past few months, but they're still watching and they're still waiting for that flow of information to come from you. So I try really hard to say to myself, okay, you know, I'm still giving information. I'm still trying to add value. I'm still trying to inspire, and not really let maybe a few comments totally derail me, because there's a bigger picture here. And so when you can at least say to yourself, okay, there's a bigger picture here, and people are watching. I mean, I've said this to Raquel a million times. I wear a hat and a vest like 90% of the time in the winter. And literally people have said to me, here's a really great website for you to get some more hats that you like to wear. And here's a great website for you to get some different colored vests. They're watching you. And you're like, holy cow, these people are really watching. So to me, it's just, it teaches me, like, okay, there's there's some predictableness, right? That they know Erica's going to show up. Erica's going to post something. So that's where the consistency that you can apply impacts it. So I think I made my point there. All right. So now what I really want to talk about is all the different ways that I am consistent. Because I know a lot of times when, you know, I've heard a lot of personal development, a lot of national wake-up calls, right? They talk about consistency. That is a common theme throughout. That's a common thread. I think a lot of times, though, we might lose sight of consistency across the board in our lives. So we may just hone in the blinders on my business and the consistency in just my business. And then all the other areas of your life kind of fall to the wayside. And so I've said to Raquel a million times, you know, I try to be consistent across the board, because then I don't necessarily have to feel like some area of my life is suffering in some way. I am trying to keep a steady pace so that I can still do family time. So I can still do, you know, time with my son, or the activities that he's involved in, without that feeling of being overwhelmed, without that feeling of I'm all over the place. So that to me is important. When you look at this slide, I'm talking specifically about how I am consistent in tracking my business, in my workouts, in my nutrition, in my personal development, and in what I'm putting out to social media. So I want to go through each of these really quickly. High level, if there's anything here that you guys want to see in greater depth, I'm an open book. Reach out to me personally. I'm happy to walk you through more information if that's what you feel is helpful to you. So I want to switch my screen to show you guys really quickly the tracker that I use. Now, here's a disclaimer. The tracker is basically how my brain works. It's just what works for me. And I know a lot of times we share a lot of different types of templates. And what I've basically done is kind of taken a lot of these templates and just taken pieces that I know will work for me, that I know helps me kind of connect the dots. And I think it's also important for you to set up your tracker in the way that you connect with people, because a lot of it is keeping track of how you are connecting with people, who you're adding to your network, the kinds of conversations that you're having, how you're building relationships. So just a disclaimer, when you guys see this, you may at first be like, what the hell does this chick do? just bear with me. I'll walk through it. I'm going to give you some key highlights of information that I'm tracking and kind of my thought process. Maybe it'll be helpful for you guys. So here is my tracker. And so basically, I'm sure it looks pretty familiar to most of you. It's got the week that I'm in. So I try to reset my tracker every Sunday. So today I went through my tracker last week and said, okay, I'm going to look at my tracker and then figure out what the week ahead is going to look like for me. So basically, my game plan is on Sunday, I kind of set up my tracker for the entire week. So I know exactly what I'm doing Monday. I know exactly what I'm doing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, that's not to say that things change and conversations change and things pop up and all kinds of stuff. But at least when I look at it, I know, okay, this is what I'm going to try to accomplish on Monday. I think another point that I had made to Raquel that keeps me from being burnt out is I just tackle one day at a time. I literally just look at my Monday, even though you'll see this, what I end up doing is I kind of like squish my screen and the only thing that I see is my Monday column. So then that's what I kind of do. I go through Monday, all of the categories I'm about to show you, and then I don't get as overwhelmed looking at the entire week. I know Genevieve had also mentioned that in a training that she had done, and it's something that I find to be really, really helpful. So basically what you're looking at right now, at the very top of my screen, this is the section where I am adding new contacts, where I'm trying to build my network, right? So there's color-coded for me because I like to know where I'm getting my contacts from. So Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are really the three main platforms that I'm using. And the reason why I like to color code them is because I like to be able to see what platform is working best for me. The reality is not every single platform is going to be as effective for maybe the type of person that you are, the way that you want to build relationships, how you're talking to people. I find for me personally, I make more connections on Facebook than I do on Facebook and LinkedIn than I do on Instagram. Not to say that Instagram isn't helpful to me. I've just noticed through this tracking system that when I look through my tracker, there's a lot of purple. And I'm like, wow, that really kind of gets my mind going like, oh, so I am really using Facebook more. So that's something that might be helpful for you guys to, if you're using different platforms. If you're not using different platforms, then it might not be applicable to you, but that's what I do. So the top of my spreadsheet is all blank. And the reason why it's blank is because I'm starting fresh. So I'm starting fresh that week saying, okay, on Monday, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go through anybody who liked my posts. I'm going to review mutual friends. I'm going to, look for groups that I can join. And every day I commit myself to adding 5+. And actually that number has been a little bit higher. So I would say on a daily basis, I'm trying to definitely add at least 10 from each platform. So that gives me 30 for the day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, it's really not as overwhelming. So basically I would come in here and say, okay, envision that, you don't see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, right? I usually do this to my screen. I kind of like close my screen up, I shorten it, and I'm just looking at Monday. Now I know there's a way to hide columns too. I haven't gotten as fancy into that yet. That's a goal. I will figure it out. But anyways, just to give you a sense, right? So this is all blank, right? So then if I scroll down, now I have new conversations. This is my new conversation section. So a lot of times, even though I'm adding people and I'm friend requesting people, they may not necessarily accept my request right away. So I don't want to get rid of that name because I want to be able to know who am I sending friend requests to. I want to keep a running tally of it. But the idea is that once these people have accepted my friend requests, they get bumped down to this next section, which prompts me to say, okay, this person accepted my friend request. I need to reach out to them so that I can have a conversation with them. Whether it's, complimenting them on something I saw in one of their pictures, it's really up to you, right? How you are approaching people and what you feel comfortable with. I know I'm the type of person where I can't just be like, hey, what's up? How are you? so I want to like have you join my fit group. I don't always feel comfortable doing that. It really depends on the type of person that I'm connecting with. So a lot of times there's layers to conversation that then eventually gets me to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm extending an invitation. Sometimes it happens a lot faster, sometimes it doesn't. So as you can see, I had gone through pretty much last week's section up top. So I'm just going to scroll to my 3/5. Okay, so this is my 3/5 spreadsheet, right? Dated 3/5. So all of this, these new contacts that I made, they get shifted to my 3/12 new conversations. So it reminds me, hey, I need to be reaching out to these people because they've made a connection with me. They've accepted my request. Whether it's through Messenger, whether it's through a regular friend request. Kind of scary that you can just talk to people through Messenger and not really have them be your friend yet, but that's kind of worked for me actually, because then they end up becoming my friend. So anyway, needless to say, new conversations, right? So then once I've made new conversations with these people, I want to make a quick note here. One of the things that has helped me as well is I just write little notes to myself. So I know kind of like, okay, little reminders, like almost top of mind, like these are kind of priority things that I like, priority people that I need to keep on my radar. So I'll, make a note like the person's name, what they do. If I've, set up meetings, I have a tracker right here. These are all the meetings that I've set up just to keep me, okay, Erica, remember you have a meeting set up, and try to remind myself why I'm setting up that meeting with that person. So all these new conversations are going to happen. So for me, it just makes it really easy for me to look and say, okay, here's my Monday. I'm going to have new conversations with all of these people. I don't worry about what's going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I'm only worrying about Monday. Does that make sense for folks? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So then once I've had the new conversation with the person, they get moved down to my basic follow-up conversation section. Now I know for a lot of people, they just have one general follow-up section. The reason why I break it up this way is because there are certain people I'm having conversations with that I have not extended an invitation to yet. So I'm just having basic follow-up conversation with them, and I don't want to get confused and reach out to them and say, did you want to join my fit group, when maybe at that point I haven't even extended an invitation to them yet. And I don't want to look dumb. So I just put them in that category. However, you guys will note that I have a little asterisk here that says extended invite at this stage of the conversation. Because sometimes that happens in this stage. So I will just make a note of it. They just get a little asterisk next to their name. So at least I know, oh, okay, they've already been extended an invitation at this stage in the game. It's not usually very common for that to happen, but I wanted to be able to track it. So once I've had basic conversation with these folks, they're going to get shifted down again. And now all of these people are going to get an invite. So I know, well, I've been having a conversation with you. Now it's time for me to extend an invitation to you. I've built some kind of a rapport with you where I feel comfortable, and we're talking about health and fitness. So now I've got all of these people that I'm going to follow up with. I also keep a little section here of people who have kind of said to me, hey, I'm not interested, but I might be down the road. Those are the people you don't want to forget about. So I have a little section here that says keep on radar. So what does that mean? Keep on radar means I'm not going to not talk to these people. I'm going to keep in touch with them. Be like, hey, how's that program working for you? Working out good? Anything new happen? Et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like this has been really helpful for me, for those people who like maybe 5 months ago didn't want to do anything, and then now they're like ready to do it because they remembered you and you didn't forget about them. So that's just another way for me to keep track. And as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of purple. So that tells me a lot of my relationship building is happening on Facebook. That's really where it's happening. And I didn't know that before I started color coding. It was an eye opener for me. I was like, oh, wow, I'm really, getting a lot of traction on Facebook. So does that make sense? before I go ahead? Good. Okay. Now, once those people have all received an invite, they go into this category where I know specifically I am following up with them for a challenge group, to try Shakeology, or to join my free community. I know I added in the free community piece because I started realizing that people may have said kind of no, I don't really want to join your fit group, but I'm curious enough about what your free community is about. So can I join your free community? And I actually have had it happen where they've joined my free community. They see what's going on in my free community and they're like, you know what, you're kind of legit. I think I want to join your fit group. So I don't want to completely cut people off either. I want to give them options of, I still want to stay in touch with you. And I consider an invite, and at least for me, is also an invite to my free community. So I put that all in here. And again, I have another keep on my radar. These might be people who are like, you know what, I just don't really want to do anything, but I'm going to keep my relationships with these people going because you don't know where that's going to translate. And you'll see that, you see how they all have little asterisks? They have asterisks because I moved them from the top section where I put the asterisks, and now I have bumped them down. So now I know pretty confidently that most of these people have all been extended an invitation. That makes sense? Yeah? I know, it's just the way my brain works. Then I have other little categories here because now we have the share cart option. And let's be real, sometimes you're like sending share carts and you're just maybe not keeping track of it because you forget to go into your coach office. So for me, I'm like, as soon as I set up something in share cart, I pop their names right in here so that I know, okay, on Monday I need to follow up with these 2 people. On Tuesday I'm going to follow up with these 2 people. On Wednesday I'm going to follow up with these people. And sometimes the days change because what if like Patty Smith reaches out to me on Tuesday instead of on Monday? So you have to try and be flexible in that sense. But the point of this exercise for me is just that I have it down on paper and that it's tracked and I know exactly what I'm doing and I'm organized, right? Organization, I think, is key to consistency. If you're all over the place, it's going to be really hard to be consistent. Keeping everything organized in one place has helped me stay consistent. Then I have a different section here for just invites for coaching because my conversations about coaching are completely different than my conversations about joining my accountability group. So for me, it was just so much easier in my brain to just separate them. So now I actually have a section here where every time I need to invite, I've invited someone, they go in this pink section. And once they've been invited, they get bumped down to this follow-up coaching. And then I have a little asterisk here that reminds me whether or not I sent them an invite to the live event or whether I sent them the link that Raquel had provided to me that gives them all of the videos in one shot. And then I also have another keep on my radar. So you'll see a theme here, right? There's a common theme where I'm just keeping people on my radar throughout. And then all the way at the bottom, which I think you guys are probably familiar with because most of the trackers that are out there have this, there's just a section here where I check in on my workout, my shake. Did I check in with my challenge group? Did I check into the team page? And I'm just checking off all of these things. And then I also track the type of posts that I'm making. So for me, I've gotten to the point where I have some sort of theme for every single day that I want to post, and this is a great way. So I typically try to schedule my posts in my free community and within my fit group. The scheduling post has really opened up my day because I think it's on Saturdays, I usually take about an hour and I set up all my posts for my free community and for my fit group. It's all done, it's scheduled, I don't have to worry about it during the week. Unless there are things that I'm going to be doing like live videos or I'm just popping in sporadically to check in with my community or to check in with my fit group. So as you can see, for Monday, I have these themes. For Tuesday, I have these themes, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it really does help because then on Sunday when I go back and I look, I can say to myself, oh, did I really do any coaching posts this week? Oh, did I really talk about my challenge group this week. You know, sometimes we can get really lost in like how much we're actually posting. So this has been really helpful for me. And then on Sundays, these are just the things that I like to do on Sunday that just keeps me on track. So does that make sense to you guys? I'm sorry, I feel like I threw a lot of information at you, but that's just the way that I use this tracker. And here's the kicker though. This tool is only as good as I use it. So if I'm not using it every day, it's really not going to be useful to me. So that's something that I have really made a priority, is to be using it every single day in some capacity. I had mentioned this to Raquel. There are some days where maybe I don't get through my whole tracker, but I had set an intention for my day that might have said, today I really need to focus on key follow-ups. Today I need to focus on key invites. So even if those are the only two things that I check off on my tracker, I still did something. And I think that's how you prevent burnout. Because sometimes you're running at full speed because you want to get everything done in one day. And sometimes it's just not possible. It's not realistic. So in my mind, I've just said to myself, Erica, what intention are you setting for yourself today? And then I use my tracker to make sure that that intention is meeting my goal in some way. If I know I have 5 key follow-ups because I know those people are going to freaking push the button, then I'm going to focus on those 5 key follow-ups. I might not get to the 20 others, but at least I did those 5 key ones. And I moved my business forward a little bit each day. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to keep going here because I know we're going to be short on time. So back to the consistency. So with working out, one of the biggest reasons why I stay really, really consistent is that I have a very deep why. My why is really deep. And for those of you who don't know anything about my background, I would highly recommend you read my profile on Facebook, because it gives you a pretty good sense of kind of why my why is so deep. For me, fitness really saved me from being in a very, very dark place. I went through a lot with my son, with his health, and him being very ill, and myself kind of spiraling into a very, very dark place. And so my why runs so deep that I know I will never go back to that place. And that is why I show up every day with my workouts. I use an alarm system. So I literally, everybody in this house already knows what my alarms sound like, because they're sounding off all throughout the day. It's really bad, but it just keeps me on track. So I have that little, I think your phones have like Siri or Bixby or whatever, and it just tells me, Erica, time to work out. Erica, time to do this. And it really helps me. It just keeps me on track. I also follow a schedule. I'm kind of an old-fashioned girl when it comes to that kind of stuff. So here's my little schedule. I've printed out. I know exactly what I'm doing every single day. But here's the kicker. It's not just what am I doing every single day, but I write down my progress. So every single day I'm like, did I use 10-pound weights? Did I use 5-pound weights? Because let's be real, people. When you are talking to people and trying to tell them that you are a product of the product and you want to show your own progress, looking at this really helps. Because I can say, hey, in phase 2 of my program, I was only lifting like 5 pounds in the first week. And then by week 4, guess what? I was lifting 15-pound dumbbells. What does that tell you? So this is, I'm old school, pencil to paper, and I just keep track. I track my progress. It's just, it helps me really kind of like, and I get excited to see like, ooh, what did I do last time? Ooh, oh, my heart rate went up to that. Ooh, let's see if I can beat it. It's almost like a little friendly competition within myself. Like, I'm going to beat that number. And it just drives me. Whatever you need to find that drives you, drives you. As far as nutrition is concerned, this is where I think 80-Day Obsession has really kind of taught me how to be so much more disciplined with my nutrition. And I use a meal plan. And Raquel is the rock star here. I can't even take any credit because Raquel totally made this meal plan, but I use it. So that's why I'm a rock star, because I use it. So here it is. Come on, guys. You've seen this, right? So here we go. I've got all my meals planned for the week. And let me tell you, it makes it easy. Every time I go food shopping, I channel Raquel. I'm like, God bless that girl. Makes it so easy. Because look, this is what I tell my son. He takes my phone, he pulls up the grocery list, and he goes to town in the grocery store. He's like, Mommy, this is what we need to do for food. This is what we need to do for meat. Can I just tell you that I can shop with my 7-year-old in under an hour? Because it just boom, boom, boom. It's none of this like I call cruising in the supermarket, like, do I need this? Do I need this? I am legit when it comes to grocery shopping. I need to be in and out, and I am like on a freaking mission, and I'm, signaling left, right, like get out of my way. I need to get my stuff done, and this really helps. And the other thing that I find really helpful about having this meal plan is that I can go back to it and I can say to myself, did I really stick to it? Where were my pitfalls? Where am I kind of falling off track? And that really helped me in phase 1 because I was realizing, the afternoon is where I struggle. And that's where the cravings would come in, or that's when the temptations would come in. And I'd have to look and be like, well, did I stick to my plan? When I stuck to my plan in phase 2, I didn't experience any of that. So again, it's just tools, right? Tools that you're using, that you have in your toolbox that are going to help you stay consistent. Personal development. I think I've shared it in the Team VIP page, positive affirmations. I say my positive affirmations every single day. I don't skip a day because when I do, and then I realize it, the day has already escaped me. And it's set my tone, it has set my mood, and I don't like it. So I literally, on my phone, I have this app, and I have an Android. I don't know if you guys all have iPhones, so maybe there's something else that you have, but I have this app, and it's called Keep. And basically what it does is I set up all these reminders, and my 3 positive affirmations are set as a reminder, and they pop up. And I hear that little bell ring, and I sit down, and I'm like, time to do my positive affirmations. So it might sound cheesy, but it really does help me. I also listen to the daily wake-up calls. And I also found a podcast on Podbean, I believe is the app. And it basically, Melanie Mitro has one. I think it's called Women Helping Women, or Women Rising, or something like that. So I do listen to podcasts if I'm brushing my teeth, in the car, in the shower, whatever time I have that I'm like, I could be doing something with this time, I build in my personal development time. And I think Raquel had mentioned this on another call. I don't necessarily listen to personal development that's directly related to the business piece or strategizing. I have been listening to a lot of personal development that just helps my mindset and helps me kind of really stop that self-defeat talk and the negative, and just has changed me mentally. And especially with 80-Day Obsession, it has really tested me mentally, that program. So the positive affirmations and the podcasts and finding a mentor, doing things that recharge me. Like for me, I know in my week that I need to have set up phone conversations with at least a few people that I'm close to, close friends, because that just recharges me. I love to connect with my friends. And let's be real, people. How many people do you really talk to on the phone? We text, we messenger. I'm old school. I like to hear people's voices. So I try to schedule at least 2 to 3 calls a week with some of my girlfriends or family members because it recharges me. It makes me feel good. I'm like, wow, like that's the kind of stuff you got to recharge your batteries somehow, right? Or maybe it's getting your nails done, right? Self-care, going and getting a massage, doing something that's just going to keep you feeling, positive. And I try to do that consistently. And so far, it's been working. And then I talked about this already, the social media piece where you're scheduling your posts, you're tracking your content. I know for me, the scheduling post has really helped. And I know it's not necessarily the greatest with the way Facebook has algorithms and things like that. So I'm still very conscious of popping in with posts that maybe not are always scheduled. But as far as my free community is concerned and my challengers, I want that to be consistent. So I use the scheduling option for that, because I want to be consistently showing up for my community and for my challengers. So for me, that just really helps me immensely. The other tools that I use really quickly, and this one is fat, so be prepared. How many of you actually use a hard copy planner? Come on, show me those hands. There's no shame in that game. No shame in that game. Okay. It literally, what does it say? Inside here lies everything. Okay, so something that I learned, and I think it was during one of the hurricanes we had, where my phone went dead and I couldn't charge my phone. Everything was still written down inside of my planner. So it was like a backup system for me. I think I mentioned this to Raquel. I lost my tracker at one point and everything was gone from my tracker. But because I had kept hard copies of things, I didn't lose it and I didn't have to start from scratch. So for me, I like to look at things from a monthly perspective. And then I also have a weekly perspective, because that's where I kind of drill down and do a little bit more specifics. And I love it. I'm a visual learner too. So when I write things down, it sticks in my head. And I don't know why. Maybe it's my journalism background where I had to write everything down. So here's another big tool that I use that I absolutely love. And then, you know, there's a lot of other tools I use for my posts that helps me with my branding and being consistent with my branding, because I do have, you know, my personal training business as well. So I use Canva. I think it's a really great desktop program. Also, I think they have an app for it, and it just helps keep my, you know, my photos looking consistent, so that when my photo pops up, people can know, oh, that's Erica, right? Because there's a brand, there's a look, there's a feel to it. And I think it just helps with you creating a consistent message of what people are going to see when they see your posts. All right, so I'm going to move on here really quickly. Okay, so what are my key takeaways here? At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. You can't try to be like anybody else. You can just take inspiration from other people and stay true to yourself. Because if you don't do something that works for you, you're not going to do it. And I think underlying, you know, you have to kind of identify what are your strengths and what are the areas that you're challenged in, and find a way to find a system that just works for you. Take action every day. And as I mentioned already, you might not tackle every single thing on your to-do list, but you can prioritize those most important things that are going to move the dial in growing your business. Slow and steady. That's kind of my thing. Creates a compound effect, creates the long-term habits, creates routine, which ultimately creates success. And I also think that when you're slow and steady, and that's not to say that, you know, there are people who are sprinting, and that's great. And if you sprint and you have a handle on that, that's freaking awesome. I'm just not at that stage where I can really sprint. I'm not doing this business full time, because I do have my personal training business. I do teach my group fitness. I am a full-time mom. So this is not something I'm necessarily dedicating a full-time schedule to. However, my slow and steady has allowed me to be more thoughtful, more strategic. And I think for me, it's helped me create some pretty real solid relationships. I have amazing challengers who are just sticking with me month after month after month after month. And they're referring other people. And I think it's because I'm putting in that kind of consistency every day with them. Stay organized, use tools. Don't be ashamed in that. You know, we all need tools to help us along the way. I do feel that being organized is very critical and being consistent. And I think you also have to recognize that when something stops energizing you, even just a little bit, you might have to reevaluate if what you're doing is really working. It's always going to be a work in progress. You know, I'm not saying that things don't change. All I'm saying is find something, stick with it, see if it's working for you, give it time. And if it's not, then you know you have to reevaluate and find something else that's really going to help you stay consistent and showing up every day. So I hope that all made sense to you guys. Does anybody have any questions? I can't believe I'm still awake.
So good, Erica. I love how you basically funneled it. And I feel like it's just so systematic and it makes so much more sense in my brain. Be like, okay, these are the people I friend requested. Next week, I'm pushing them over to, creating connecting with them. Mm-hmm. Cool. I've connected. We started conversations. And then the following week, I'm going to invite them. And that's just such a smooth transition. And it's not like coming out of left field, like, hey, I just met you. Like, what are you doing? You've truly created a conversation. And you've also seen, like, do we have anything in common? Have we connected at all? If we have, cool. That's a natural transition. And I also love how you always give something. So you have that fit community group that you stay present in and you give value. So even if they're not ready to join a group yet, you still have them in your free community where they can get to know you, like, and trust you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I loved this so much. There were so many just really great takeaways and like just so many good things. You know, texting Jessica about, consistency. You can't tell what's working or what's not if you're not consistent in what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too is with that funneling, just to add, it also creates like consistent flow from month to month so that you're not scrambling, right? Because I think a lot of times you start freaking in one sense, like, who can I talk to this month, or who's going to buy a challenge pack for me, or who's going to do this? And you're like, ah. But with this funnel system, I've kind of realized that I just always have constant flow of people. And I think the real key to that is making sure that you're adding to your network every day. So if there is one thing that you're going to do every day, make that a priority. To try to add to your network every single day, because you just kind of never know who knows who. I've had people refer me to other people. So yes, that to me, it just systematically works. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. And again, if there's more information that you want, or you want me to drill down a little bit deeper, I'm so happy to do that and just give you guys, as much information as possible. And don't beat yourself up. I think that's also a really important thing. I've kind of let that go. I've let it go and said to myself, you know what? Today wasn't exactly the greatest day. I'm not going to completely beat myself up. I did a few things that were really, really good for my business, and I move on. And just that also prevents burnout, because I think that when you're beating yourself up every day, you're going to burn yourself out. It really,
totally. And I think not having the all or nothing approach. Okay, I can't get everything done on my tracker. Instead of just not doing anything, what can I do? I think it's so good. I love this so much. I think it's so needed, because I think a lot of times on our team, we see people taking like massive amounts of action and they're doing these awesome things. But it's true. If it's not sustainable over the long term, you're not going to be better for it. Being able to take action that you truly can sustain is everything. So,
and I think it also really depends on the type of person that you are too. For me personally, I don't like to feel that I'm having like fake conversations with people either, or like such top level that you don't dig deeper, because the reality is, if at some point I'm going to help you as a coach, I'm going to have to dig a little bit deeper, and I'm going to have to get you to trust me, because you're going to have to share things with me that maybe you've never shared with anybody, but these things could really impact, how you continue in your journey. I mean, I think I shared, I had a customer lead, and she sent me a page-long email after a conversation that I was like, I had no idea that this was all bottled up inside of her. So you always, for me, again, I can only say this for me, that's just how I like to function. And it's not to say that I don't have people who say no. I think you have to kind of get over that too. Like,
totally.
Next opportunity. That's how next opportunity. Just
oh, that's good. I like that.
Yep. Next opportunity. You just have to kind of tell yourself that, I think working on Wall Street for almost 20 years, you develop a really thick skin. because man, I don't miss that at all. But I also think to some extent there are some components of this business that also require you to have a little bit of a thick skin. And I think sometimes when we lose sight of maybe why we're really doing it, it also can derail you, and you can start to feel a little bit overwhelmed. And let's be real, people, I'm not saying I'm not in it to make money too, because we all want to make money. I have goals. I want to create financial freedom for my family. I want to get us to a place where, you know, we can do the things that we want to do. That I don't want you guys to think that I'm just like tree hugging 24/7. No, because we are in this to create that financial freedom for ourselves. I'm just saying that I had to pick a pace that worked for me.
Totally.
So that I could stick with it. So hopefully, you know, I inspired you guys in some way.
So good. Awesome. Does anybody else have any other questions? Because it's super late for her. She's on the East Coast. So if you have a question, ask now.
Sandra, you stayed with me.
We have a couple East Coasters who are pushing 11 o'clock. So, okay. Well, if we don't, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. Erica, you rocked it. I loved it so much. And I will make sure to get the recording up as soon as possible.
Wonderful.
Okay, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.